And before I get into me and Bailey Initiative, I want to thank Austin Public Library again, and also Hudson Valley Books for sponsoring this event. Thank you very much. If you haven't checked out the bookstore and the library, beautiful library, very beautiful library, I suggest you have a take a look at it, and as well as visit Hudson Valley Bookstore, right in downtown Austin. All right, I am Anthony Bailey, as I said before, and I'm the Executive Director of Bailey Initiative. We are a nonprofit out of Yonkers, New York, and I focus primarily on creating generational wealth for people of color through home ownership. Just a quick background of me. I have my MBA, and I'm currently pursuing my PhD, and this is the dissertation, this is a part of my dissertation, which is generating wealth through home ownership. And through this programming, I offer education courses on creating, not only obtaining, but maintaining and sustaining your home. So again, quick background, this is a PhD dissertation of mine, and the work will be used, the work that I do here, and for educating everyone on obtaining a home in 18 months will be put towards that, and this as a case study. So today's presentation, I'm going to give you a quick overview. It's going to be a lot of information. I suggest you do, if you don't already have, get a pen and paper out. There will be a lot of information that I'll be giving, and you'll have the ability to answer questions. Joining me today is Sherry Ann Francis, who will be providing the credit portion of the programming. And again, I suggest you have your pens and paper ready, and we will be going over a bunch of information. So how did I get to this? How did I get to creating generational wealth of people of color through home ownership? So I invest in real estate. I'm a serial entrepreneur, meaning I do a whole bunch of businesses, and throughout that, real estate was one of them. So I actually invested in real estate, in rehabbing and rehabbing homes and selling them. So I don't know if you've noticed lately in the market, this upsurge in homes being sold. Just in last year, there's been 20% increase in equity in homes just in 1 year only. And with that, you can get a bunch of equity in your home. What is equity? And I'll explain in detail further, but equity in short is the appreciation in the value of your home that you have. So the cost of the home minus the market value. What's the difference? That is your equity. And I'll go into that a little bit more. But as you've seen, prices have been going up tremendously, and I invested in the market. And what I've seen is that a lot of home buyers simply don't understand or know how to obtain a home. What's the process? What does it take? What does it entail? What do you need to do? And there's a lot of anxiety that happens when you're doing that. So I chose to say, you know what? In creating generational wealth, how do you go about that? What's the thought process? And then what actually the tools and resources do you need in order for you to obtain a home? So doing some data, again, this is my PhD hat on. There's a wealth gap within the US, and if you're not familiar with this wealth gap, there's a nice pretty graph that will tell you. So the green line at top is showing the wealth based on racial equity. So that green line is saying that 140, let's put it in dollars, $140 for every white family is continuing over time, right? 1989, and then we know in 07 we had the big housing crisis. So in the housing crisis, a lot of people lost their home, especially minority families. So if you look all the way at the bottom, now this is literally money in your pocket. What do you have? When we're talking about generational gap or wealth gap, what money do you have in your pocket? So there's $140 in your pocket. In 2007, there was $200 in your pocket for every white family, versus the Hispanic and Black family, $20 in your pocket. This is real, this is realistic. This is what we're talking about, having equity and creating generational wealth and using homes to do that. I'm from Yonkers, which is the third largest city in New York, and with more than half of residents of being people of color, there's about 75% who are homeowners, with majority of the minority population renting. Again, how did I get to doing this? Is these stats. And as I told you from before, if you owned a home now and you were able to sell it in the last year, you would have automatically had an additional 20% in your pocket in cash. That's actual cash. All right. So that data led me to this programming. What am I actually doing? I am actually saying, I will aid you in obtaining, maintaining, and sustaining the home. Now, the obtaining the home is easy. You can please come in, please. You can obtain a home easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. You can have a credit score of 580. You can get a mortgage. It'll be an expensive mortgage, especially with the rates right now. But you can get into that home. Somebody can help you get into that home, no problem. But when we're talking about generational wealth and creating wealth, it's how you maintain and sustain the home, utilizing that home to tap into its equity. And that's what we focus on, not only the obtaining part, but maintaining and sustaining the home as well. I help you work towards working with a affordable lending institution. There are various lending institutions that want to just give you money, but it's costly, right? It's a loan. It's a loan that's saying, hey, we're gonna give you this money, you owe us, here is the interest rate on that. So we work with affordable lending institutions, not money-hungry mortgage brokers, but actual institutions that can give you affordable lending options. But before you get to that, we have to give you, we work through the process on you being a qualified buyer, and there's a process to that. Then if you want to go a bit further, if you want to become a landlord, now, if you're renting, you already know what that means. You pay your landlord every month. But what if that money was now coming into your pocket? Now, not only are you a homeowner, but now you're a landlord getting more cash and the opportunity of actually generating wealth at a faster rate. And then also what we do here is that, again, I'm a real estate investor, so I find homes at affordable rate, rehab them, and then offer you the opportunity of getting into those homes at an affordable rate. We do all of this through our partnerships, through various lending institutions, city, state government, as well as down payment assistance programs. Before I go even further into home ownership, I'm going to bring on my partner, Sherry Ann Francis, who is going to walk you through having a great credit. Now, every time she speaks, I learn even more. I'm not even going to lie to you. So I have a saying now that I've created: although cash is king, credit is queen, and we must protect the queen at all times. Right? So let me introduce Sherry Ann Francis, who will talk to you about credit. Sherry Ann.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not a big fan of the mic. It makes you feel super important. And not that I'm not important, but it's just intimidating. But thank you guys for being here. You could have been anywhere on a Saturday. It's beautiful outside, but you chose to be here to get yourself educated. As he said, my name is Sherry Ann Francis. I'm going to give you guys a little backstory about me and how I got to this space. Started in January of 2020. I was a college advisor, and I decided to do something I've never done before. I walked away from my job. I just decided to quit. I was bored. Students weren't graduating. It was just like not a good time for me mentally as a professional. So I decided to just quit. Not sure what I was going to do, but I ended up getting into this space where I became a credit consultant. And one of the things I do is like Anthony said, a lot of my clients are interested in purchasing a home, right? Most people, raise your hand if you're already a home owner or you're interested in purchasing a home or buying a car, anything that you're gonna need credit, right? when I got in this space, I even learned that you need credit in a job. Like some employers actually look at your credit score. Now, is that fair? No, but they actually do. So to get some promotions, you actually need to have good credit. And I'll tell you guys about different ways to increase your credit score and different ways they're looking at your credit score to make you qualified. So how I got here was I quit my job, like I told you guys, and I decided to start this opportunity to increase my the awareness of credit within the community so that others can understand the process. I didn't know I had good credit until I went to purchase my home, and the mortgage consultant was the person who told me, hey, young lady, you have an 847 credit score. I was completely shocked because I didn't know what I did to get there. Never had to look at credit prior to that. Never bought a car, never had a car loan, only had a student loan. So I wasn't aware of what credit was. Like, how many of you are so aware of your credit score that you're checking it daily? Are you obsessed with it? No? I mean, I think it's a good and a bad thing, right? Until you understand the mechanism behind the credit score, checking it daily is just going to give you anxiety. You don't need to. But understanding what you need to do to control it is what you need to have. So I like to always start off with a quick story of how I actually ended up with the credit score and how I learned to have good credit. And I'll do that as I go through the presentation. So again, Sherry and Francis, let's talk about the 5 factors that make up your credit score, right? So we want to first talk about our payment history. What is your payment history? How often are you paying your bill, right? Are you paying on time? So we all know we get a due date. It might be April 30th. What you want to do is you want to actually pay that bill. I like to give a tip, 15 days before the due date, right? So if you paid half of it 15 days before the due date, another half 3 days before the due date, what that will actually do is, you guys see the next section where it says credit utilization or amounts owed? It will cut down the amount owed. So when the credit bureaus look at your credit, they're not going to see how much you actually have home. And I will break that down for you guys. So for example, you have a $1,000 credit limit, right? And you use $800. You should never do that, but if you did, it's okay if you follow this method. If you use $800 and you're going to pay it back before the due date, if you paid half of $800 before 15 days before the due date, you're going to pay already $400, right? So that already knocked you down with your utilization. And then you're going to pay the other half 3 days before your due date. You would never be maxed out. You would never be late because you paid early. And you will also have a utilization which is way below 30%. So they say to you guys, you're not supposed to use that $1,000. You're supposed to only use 30% of the $1,000, which is $300. I don't know if you guys knew that, but prior to this, I had no idea. So we all know like $300 of $1,000 is not a lot, right? We can buy gas today with $300. So we want to be mindful of different ways to increase that utilization. And one tip to you guys, during the holiday season is a great time to go out and ask for an increase on your credit limit. Now you want to ask for that increase, you want to say, can you bump me up from $1,000 to $2,000? Or maybe $2,500. And the goal with that is not so that you can spend more money, it's so that you can bring your utilization down. So those 2 areas, credit utilization and late payment history are very, very important. And you want to make sure that you're keeping those 2 in control because that will keep your credit score afloat. 30 plus 35, that's 65% of your score is controlled by your habits and your behavior and what you do. So just a rule of thumb, do not max out credit cards, and if you do, you want to make sure that you're paying them ahead of time before the due date so that you can avoid that high utilization rate. Next area that's very important is the length of credit history. So what I like to discuss when it comes to the length of credit history is you don't want to close old accounts. If you have some good long-standing accounts, keep them open. What you can do is use them maybe once every 4 months or something like that. Put a small purchase on them and pay it off so that you're keeping it afloat. So I know, like me, I had a Macy's card that I don't use anymore, but to keep the account active so that I can keep that credit age, because I've had that card maybe 15 years, I go into Macy's once in a while and I'll buy like something for $10, pay it right off so that it keeps the card really active. So you don't want to, I know we want to get rid of like that anxiety of having too many credit cards, but they actually help your credit if they have good, long-standing history. So don't close them. That's the biggest advice I could give you. 10% of your credit is made up of a credit mix, right? So what do I mean by that, right? You have revolving credit and you have installment credit. So revolving is your everyday credit card, your bank cards, your Macy's card, Gap card, any store revolving credit. And then you also have those installment loans, right? So car payment loans, student loans, and those home mortgage loans. Those are going to be installment credits. So if you're heavy on one side, if you have a lot of credit cards, but you don't have any installment loans, you're missing out on probably about 5% of your score. So you want to have a nice diversified portfolio. You want to have a little bit of everything, right? So I know a lot of people, I think myself included, I have student loans that I just want it gone, vanished, but it's actually helping my credit because every month that I pay on it, it shows that I have some kind of credibility and I'm actually putting forth money towards a debt that I owe. So does that make sense, guys? So the installment is when you look forward to a payment date, right? They give you 30 years to pay back a mortgage. They give you 5 years to pay back a car loan. Student loan, they give you forever to pay it back. Those are the kind of things that are installment, and revolving is every month you're expected to pay the money that you borrow back from that institution. Missed one more. So new credit line of inquiries, right? So what that means is basically when you continuously apply for new credit. So if you're going into the stores and they're offering you, you get into Home Depot and they're like, hey, you want to buy this today? What if you'll get 10% if you get a new card? Say no, because every time you say yes, they're running your credit, and that's going to cause your score to drop because it's a new credit inquiry. So if you're in the process of looking for a home, you're going to get an inquiry from that. So you want to be mindful of how many of them you're using. I have up here, it's noted, you shouldn't have more than 1 to 2 per year, right? So you want to make sure that you're keeping those to a very, very limited amount. Anything over 4 starts to look like you're very desperate and you're always seeking and looking for new lines of credit. So you guys can take a screenshot, take a picture of it, or jot some notes down before I move over. Oh, wrong direction. All right, so here's some quick stats. So we have 1.4 million Americans are dealing with identity theft. And why is that important? As your credit score starts to go up, a lot of people just want to use their information. Don't click on links, guys. If you're on social media, if you're on the computer getting emails, don't click on links. That's how they get into your information and hack you. So you want to be mindful of that. 14.6 trillion American household debt is reported, right? So a lot of people are in debt, and this is from 2021. A year later, we know we're going into a recession, or we are into a recession. This number has definitely increased. And we have 64 million Americans that they have less than $10,000 saved for rainy day funds, right? So what does that mean? If you're getting ready to retire and you don't have a retirement fund, what do you have saved away, right? We're not doing a really good job of increasing. You can come on in. And 60% of Americans, they lack a will and a trust estate, right? So when you get that home, you don't just want to purchase a home and never figure out where it's going to go to the next generation, right? If you have kids, you want to make sure that it's getting passed down, depending on the state that you live in, or even a county, that could go right to the state. So you want to make sure that you're actually doing a will and estate planning. And in just one decade, those student loan balances, they went up to 150%. So a lot of graduates have graduated, no jobs, and it's just getting in more debt, which is actually going to impact you when you go to buy a home, because depending on how much student loans you owe, it will affect your debt to income ratio, and I'm sure Anthony will go over that. I keep going the wrong way. It's too fancy. All right, so 1 in 4 Americans have a credit score of less than 650. In some counties, maybe a 620 could get you a home loan. But what's going to happen is your interest rate is going to be super high. So you want to make sure that you are at the highest credit score so that you can maximize having a lower interest rate, right? So let's talk about the differences with credit scores. So we have a home here. If the value is $240,000, as you can see, someone with less than a 560 credit score, they could be paying anywhere to 12% interest. And I've looked this information up several times, and it is constantly showing the interest rate is super high for someone with a low credit score. If you have a 740 or higher, you could get away with paying a 4.25. Obviously, these rates are going to vary based on the market at the time. But the idea is that's a 3 times difference, guys. So you want to make sure that you're getting the best credit score. Look at the total amount paid. It's almost $1 million for a home with low credit score. Whereas if you had a great credit score, you're only paying $413,000. So if you see the value in saving money long term, this is why it's very important if you have that credit score so that you can pay a lower interest rate. We also have the example here with a car, right? So car loans, most cars, an average car, $20,000. Same difference, guys. Interest rate, 26% on a low credit score. A lot of times people don't notice this because we all need a car, right? How did we all get here today, right? Most of you drove, right? Even if you lived around the corner, you're gonna drive. So a lot of times people don't pay attention to how high the interest rates is on cars because you just need it. It's a purchase that you feel like you have to make. But if you have a great credit score, you're gonna notice when they give you a 5% rate, a 4% rate, which myself I've gotten a 3% rate on a car before because my credit score is at an 847. So you wanna make sure that you're doing whatever in your power to get that credit score to be superb so that you are saving in the long run, right? And I'm gonna show you guys how much you can actually save. So I'm gonna switch sides. So you guys see, look, $56,000. This is just an example of a mortgage, credit cards, the different debts that you may have, auto loans and student loans. If you are paying the maximum in interest, you can be wasting out $56,000. How many of us could use $56,000? Could that be the down payment on your next home? Could that be a purchase of a whole car? Could that be, that's $56,000. That's money that could go towards your son or daughter college tuition. So this is why you just have to be educated, you have to be mindful of how a great credit score can impact your future, right? So I use this example, I usually use this when I work with students, but I wanted you guys to see it, right? So we have Lisa here, she's gone shopping, she got that new credit card, it's $1,000, but what she did was she spent the whole $625 the first time she got the card, right? So I want you guys to realize that approximately 30 days later, her minimum payment is $25. And you know they get you with that, guys, right? You spend $625 and they're like, all you have to pay is $25. Why do you think that is? Because they're gonna make money. Banks do not like people with great credit. They like people who don't understand this information because they're gonna make more money. It's part of the system, right? So her interest rate, and this is old information, interest rates have recently just increased. I don't know if you guys knew that, but to make up for the inflation that we're having, they've increased interest rates, right? So this is old. I need to update my slides. 17.25, right? And a late fee of $35. So they make money in interest and they make money on late fee. So this is what happened with Lisa. She forgot to pay her bill. How do you think this would impact her credit score? And at this point, I want you guys to interact. I just want to see how much you know, how much you can help me guide my presentation. Anybody know? How is this going to impact her score? Based on the screen I went over before, payment history is 30%. Payment history is 35%. Utilization is 30%. How is this going to impact her? She's late and she used $625 of the $1,000 that was given to her. I saw your hands, you said it's going to drop her score, right? Definitely, guys. It's going to drop her score. The most impact is going to be that payment history. So the utilization is high, but remember I told you guys, you can control that by paying the bill early, right? But in this sense, she ended up paying it late. It's over 30 days late, and she's going to get charged $35 because she paid it late. So her score is definitely going to drop. So I want you guys to know that a late payment could drop your score anywhere between 50 to 100 points, especially if it's your first one, right? So she's gonna get a score dropped, and remember she's new to credit. This was her first time getting a credit card. Her utilization is way over the 30%. She's at a 60%. So that's also gonna drop it. So it's gonna decrease her score. And her credit history, Lisa just obtained this card, which means she is fairly new to credit. So based on these three factors, it's gonna significantly tank, right? A lot of times younger individuals start out with a higher credit score because they're just new to credit, right? So you'll start off high and they're gonna start deducting points based on your history, based on what you do. So it's all based on credibility and how responsible you are, and that's all they wanna see. So if you maximize and you master paying your bills on time, keeping your utilization way below 30%, I don't go over 4%. That's how you would get a great credit score. And just a tip for most of you here, I think most of you might be moms or grandparents, or you just have individuals in your home. If you have a great credit score, add your son or daughter or family member to the card as a authorized user. You don't have to give them the card. My daughter, she's 13. She doesn't even know I did it. I've added her as an authorized user so that when she graduates from high school, that's my gift to her. She's going to have an 850 credit score. You know, what power in that? She can now get her own car loan so she can learn how to manage and maintain great credit. So I'm almost done, guys. I just wanted you to see that here are some tips I would have for Lisa, right? She can set up auto pay, right? It's always great to set up auto pay so that you're making sure that you're paying your bills on time. And if you're not good at doing that, you can also set an alarm on your phone. But come up with a system that works for you, right? Spending no more than $300 is what she should have done. However, she's already done the damage. A lot of us don't think about this, but she could have returned some of those items, right? But when you don't know, you just don't do it, right? And a lot of people don't think about it. She probably bought those items in the heat of the moment because she got access to $1,000. How many of us done that before? We're all guilty of it. You apply for the card because guess what? I'm going to have access to a new $2,000 I've never had before. But if you're going to do that, just make sure you're not purchasing on emotions. You're making a calculated guess. So you want to create a budget and a shopping allowance for yourself, right? We all get to that point where we want to reward ourselves, but you want to make sure it's in your means, guys. And just so you know, these are the different credit levels. So it starts at a 300 and it goes all the way up to 850 based on the FICO scoring model, right? So there's different scoring models. I know sometimes I look at my bank, I have an 867 with one bank. So that's just a different model. But based on FICO, what you would need your FICO score to purchase a home is going to be from 300 to 850. And the higher the score, the better you look to any borrower, right? So you guys see the different area. 300 to 579 is fairly poor. 580 to 669 is fair. 670 to 579 is good. Anything, I feel like from that good area, anything 670 and over, your interest rates are going to be fairly similar. So that's why I said don't get so obsessed with it. Get obsessed with your habits and what you do on a daily basis. So you want to get into the habit of checking your credit score annually, right? There's a lot of people that I meet, they're like, I haven't seen that thing in like 5 years. But you get access to a free credit report on annualcreditreport.com. During COVID, they were giving it out like every week. You could have checked it for free, actually print out and download a copy. You guys are in the library, that's something you can do. And you get a free report. Or if you have apps like Credit Karma, Experian, anything, Credit Sesame, Credit Wise, you can use that to monitor your credit. I just suggest do not pay for it. Like this is free information. You do not need to pay for your credit score or pay for your credit report. So you want to make sure that you're doing that, right? And this is my information if you guys need anything. Like I said, I work with a lot of clients to purchase homes. I actually have my card here. I will leave a sign-in sheet for you guys to sign in just to keep in contact if you needed any credit tips. But if you follow me on social media, you will get a lot of tips. And I often go live just to let a lot of people know how the information works and how having good credit can impact your life. But that's the end of my presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Anthony. If you guys, we're doing Q&A
we're doing Q&As. Well, for you, we can jump on it right now. Anybody have any questions that you want to ask Sherry? And we're going to also do a Q&A at the end.
Yeah, we can do it at the end.
So, if you have a question, you can ask a question.
So you said that if you have 650 and over, your interest rate would be the same as someone with 850 credit score?
Well, it might be a little variation,
okay.
But what I'm trying to say is a lot of times if you're going to buy a home, a lot of people are trying to get to this perfect credit score, but sometimes time might be a factor, right? So depending on your lender, 670, even some places 620 could be okay. Your rate might be a little bit different, but what I've seen is that most of the time it's an average, right? So if you're a credit score between maybe 700 and 850, there's really no big difference, right? So you still would get a great interest rate. It might be, or you can buy something which is called points. I don't know if we'll go over that, but once you're above that 670, you're in a good area. So a lot of people are obsessed with the number, which it sounds good, but a lot of times there's no real difference. So it might vary by a few percent, but not as significant as the slides that I showed before with the levels of 12% versus 4%, right?
So I'll give you a little tidbit. A financial institution that we work with, they actually said any credit score less than 660, they automatically add 0.25% to your interest rate. So their baseline is 660, others will be 720. So to her point is, you want to be comfortable 700, 720 around there, but just understand anywhere lower, there is a cost to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else, any questions really quickly?
And again, we'll have a Q&A after. Thank you very much, Sharon. So with that information, and I see a lot of people writing it down, that's the thing.
this is a lot, not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of information to go over, but we help you with that. And the thing is, it's understanding what you're getting yourself into and avoiding the anxiety. You're going to have anxiety, but we want to calm that anxiety. And that's the point of having this information. Now, what is a homeowner? A homeowner is someone who owns their home, and it's a great accomplishment to have your own home. It comes with many advantages. What are those advantages? The benefits of home ownership: a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment. You have your own key, you're pushing your own door. You have a yard, maybe you have a courtyard, but it builds your own self-esteem. There is significant tax benefits. And what am I talking about tax benefits? Real estate taxes that are paid are tax deductible. If you did not know that, they are actually tax deductible. If you're a homeowner and you purchased it through a mortgage, the interest paid on that loan is also tax deductible. And a property value, when we keep talking about value, the appreciation, the equity, that's taxed. There isn't any tax on that. Only when you pull the equity out of that home is then you get taxed. But there are ways where you can transfer that equity, 1031 exchange, that is not any tax on it. So we go over things like that. The value of your home, again, increases over time. So as we talk about inflation is at an 8% rate right now. The reason to offset that, interest rates rise. So right now, today, at a good credit score, your interest rate automatically is going to be like 5.5%, something like that, around there. So as I said, the worse your credit is, the more that rises, right? So you can, at a 580, and banks right now, they'll tell you they will take you at a 580, but don't do that. Do not. She showed you before. The cost of that is extremely high. So you don't want to do that. You want to work on your credit. What's the most common way of getting a home is through mortgages. Mortgage is just a loan. Again, as we're talking about it, and I'm repeating because I want you to get familiar with these terms and what is it and how it will work and how it will affect you. But 4 common types of mortgages: 30-year, 15-year, interest-only, balloon mortgages. And the difference between them is how you're going to pay it. You pay 30 years, you might be paying smaller principal plus interest over time. 15, the interest may be higher because you're paying in a shorter amount of time, but you'll be paying less as opposed to the 30. Interest only, you're literally only paying interest at some time. You're going to have to pay the principal plus the interest, and balloon mortgage is when all is due at one specific time. A mortgage payment consists of principal and interest. Now, for those that are receiving Section 8, there are programs that you can utilize your Section 8 to pay your mortgage. That's also something we assist you with. Now, we're talking about the greatness of having a home, but I'm going to tell you about the pitfalls of also being a homeowner. Homeowner, if you fail to pay your mortgage, as Sherry Ann was talking about, failure to pay your credit card, that dropped your score significantly. No difference with not paying your mortgage on time. Missing a payment can have a significant negative effect on your credit score. Forgetting to pay the taxes. So, taxes trump your mortgage. What do I mean by that? When you're owning your home, you're paying PITI, P-I-T-I, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Those are the 4 things you're paying when you own a home: principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The taxes, if you are not paying your taxes, there's a tax lien on your home. Investors can buy your taxes. Investors buy your taxes, you have to pay them the taxes plus the interest. They can eventually, depending on your municipality, the taxes, they can take your home from you just by paying off your taxes. So understand, PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And not renewing your home insurance, homeowner's insurance on the home, Long story short, insurance, we already know the importance of insurance. We have insurance on everything. Pay your insurance. Failure to pay your, be aware of your local laws when owning a home. You know, every municipality has their own regulations in what you can do and what you cannot do with your home. Also, maintaining and repairing, that's very important, maintaining. So where we're talking about equity, building equity and appreciation in your home, you want to ensure that you're maintaining the home. Sustaining and maintaining a home is important. Again, you can easily obtain a home. If you're rushing to go get a home just because you want to say you're getting a home, you can get it at a 580 credit score. We can get you in a home tomorrow, if it is. We can gift you down payment. We can get you down payment assistance, and we can get you into a home. But the importance is understanding what owning that home is doing, and that's the maintaining and sustaining. Maintaining, keeping up the repairs, so you would have to save for that, have a savings for that. A boiler may break, a roof is leaking. I'm saying all of this because I've gone through it. The foundation is a problem. So you want to ensure that you understand all things that are going on. So, again, generational wealth, utilizing a home to build equity. Taking advantage of growth in the equity, depending on the type of property, homeowners can get rental income. So, this is when you want to think about how are you actually going into a home? What's your entry method of going into a home? Meaning, what's your entry point? So if you're saying you want that house, that beautiful house on the hill, that house that's overlooking the water, that's going to come with a cost. But what if your first home is a co-op or a condo? Now that's a cheaper entry point in getting into a home. Because you're thinking, all right, if I'm going to create wealth out of this home, I want to utilize that and maximize its potential. So if I can get into a co-op, which is probably like 150, 200, or depending on where you are, around 100, you could potentially, depending on the homeowners association, you can get in at a cheaper cost. It's cheaper, your payments will be cheaper over time, and you can eventually rent that out after a specific time. So now you have a property, you got in cheaper, you're paying it at a cheaper price point, and now let's say 5 years, after 5 years, you can rent that. So now somebody's renting it, the equity from that over that 5 years is probably appreciated. Co-ops do not appreciate as fast as condos and homes, but it still appreciates, and you can take some of that equity and go purchase your other home. Okay, so that's a co-op or condo avenue. What if you buy a multifamily? So if you buy let's say you buy a two-family home. A two-family home, the beauty about that is now, if you're going into a two-family home, how you get a mortgage is analyzed on the income or potential income you get. So if you're getting a two-family home and you know that the rent on that other apartment in that home is, let's say, $1,200, that's $1,200 times 12 is your potential income. That makes you look better getting a mortgage. Let's say you're buying a three-family. That's 2 additional rental incomes you're getting. That's income on your personal income statement that will get you a better mortgage. So now we're thinking about how we can obtain equity and generational wealth over time. So that's what we talked about, the type purchase of multifamily or rental income as additional income to the household. And then also the property can be willed to younger generations. We don't talk about it, but that is evident. It is 2 things in life. You're gonna pay insurance and you're gonna die. It is what it is. So why don't we set up a will for future generations to have the equity? So grandma has her house. Don't sell grandma's house. Leave that in the family. Please, leave it in the family. That is exactly how you build generational wealth. All right, let's get into the meat of everything. I know I'm throwing a whole bunch of information at you, but please write it down, and we're going to do a Q&A after that. So 10 steps to becoming a homeowner. Determine why you want to purchase a home. So it's a mindset, right? It's you now taking that journey and saying, I'm going to own a home. It comes with a lot of responsibilities, as I told you just now. So determining why you want to purchase a home, number 1. Determining your financial status. what we do is go over goals and savings. So your spending habit is going to change. If you know your income is not changing over a period of time, then the only thing you can change is how you're going to spend. So how are you spending your money? You may not be able to go out and eat all that time. So much with the rising prices on everything. Stay home. It's all right. It's going to be fine. Stay home. Let that income go into your bank. Identify a mortgage broker to assist with the different programs. So there are down payment assistance programs that exist, and everybody can get into a down payment assistance program. Here in Westchester, we have multiple. We have CHI, Community Housing Innovations. We have, oh my gosh, there are other institutions that can assist you, and we put you in contact with them. So there's locate a real estate agent. Many real estate agents, and we work with many as well, but real estate agent, and you shop for your property. Once you have your property, you're going to make an offer, you're going to negotiate. Number 7, you're going to go through an underwriting process. Number 8, 9, you close the deal. 10, you move in. It's a lot, right? But here are people that help you with that. Your power team. In understanding and being able to get a home, you're going to need these people. Right here, you're going to need a realtor, a mortgage broker, a lender, or a bank. You're going to need an attorney, an inspector, and an appraiser. Again, a realtor, a mortgage broker, an attorney, an inspector, and an appraiser. Why? Your realtor is going to guide you and let you know what houses are available. Your mortgage broker, your lender, or your bank is going to give you that finance. Your attorney is going to give you the legal prowess in order to obtain that property in a right and legal manner. Your inspector is going to inspect that property and ensure that your foundation, your roof, your plumbing, your HVAC system is all intact. If it's not, you can go back to the seller and get credit towards fixing that, if it is not. Your appraiser is going to give you the value of the home. Now, the appraiser really works with the mortgager, but if an appraiser, what does an appraiser do? Appraiser tells you the value, the market value compared to comps in the area of what the value, the market value of the home is. If that appraiser comes back with something that you don't like, you can appeal that, you can contest that, you can tell them to come back again and do that. So the thing is, with each of these, you're actually in control, because you're spending your money in order for you to get that home. So if they're telling you something you don't like, you question them, you can contest them. You don't always have to say yes. And you can move on to the next person. So you want to ensure that whatever contract you're getting into, you understand what that process is. So when I talk about how do we get a home, save. Again, you know what your income is. If you know that's not going to change, you're going to get another job. You're going to get some other income potential. Right now, these days, everybody got 2 or 3 jobs. I know people that do it. I got a couple of hustles. Not even going to lie to you. Because I don't know how people make it on just one. But if you do, God bless you. I have multiple. Apply for and secure a higher paying job. It's nice to say in this market, depending on what you can do, if you can do that. If not, get a second job. It's real out here. Just get a second job. Pay yourself first. Now, we may have a hobby that we like, and we, on the weekends, we may be able to do it. Pay yourself first, meaning save 10% usually. If you could do more, you could do more, but at least put it in an account. I honestly have a credit union that I don't have the debit card to, and automatically out of my paycheck, like I think 5 or 10% goes to it, and I never see it. Like, I don't even check it, I don't do it, it's just a credit union, it exists somewhere. Automatic saving, as Sherry Ann was saying before, set up your auto payments on your cards. It's not as easy as we say it, but it is actually once you start doing it. And I'll be honest, it's like, it's a mindset shift. That's literally all you're doing. You're just changing how you're going about doing things. Literally. And the thing that we don't do, and years ago, I started to do it. Once I started to do it, I was like, okay, I see. Write down everything that you spend money on. If you're going to work and you spend money on lunch every day, like say $10 a day, let's say, perfect. In the morning you buy breakfast, let's say that's like $5, $6. If that's $5, $6. Then you buy lunch, that's another $10. So that's $15. And then you might have snacks or whatever. Let's say just on average, you're spending $15 every day. $20 every day. 5 days, that's $100. $100 you could have saved. You could have cooked food for a good amount of time for the week. Right? Sunday. Sunday dinner. Let's be sure Sunday dinner is Monday's lunch. Absolutely. Manage your debt. Write down your expenses. Your income is X. Your expenses are Y. X minus Y leaves you this. I'll be honest. You start seeing what you spend your money on, you'll be like, why am I spending money on that? And you can manage your debt properly. Reduce luxuries. We like finer things in life, rightfully so. But we want a house. What's better, the house or that luxury? You can make that decision and consider downsizing. So like I said, you may want that pretty house, that big house or whatever, but at this time, it may not be good for you, but you just want to be able to get into something that you can actually generate wealth off of down the line. So with all that said, what do? We provide programming to assist you with this process. So again, I know I said a lot. It's a lot of information that was being said, but we actually handhold you throughout the whole process. So within 18 months, first, we give you the education. I go in detail more about everything that I just talked about. 4-week process. We've done it by Zoom. We're looking to do it in person, but more than likely, you'll still be available online. And then we go through everything we just talked about, and it's with a strict and purpose and intent on building equity. So getting you in the mindset for you to be able to obtain, maintain, and sustain that home. So we connect you with affordable financial institutions. We help to determine goals and saving plans. So I actually check in with you every now and then to ensure that the goal and savings plan that we went over, you're sticking to it. It is easy to falter, yes, but I annoy you. I annoy you until and making sure you're sticking to that plan. To become a homeowner takes time. You have to have a plan. It's easy to just do things and just think about, yeah, I'll do that later, but it's already we're in a 6th month. January was just the other day, but this year is almost over. Summertime, once you know summertime, we go into summertime, nice, it's hot, it's about to be cold very soon. So we have to have a plan in order for that 18 months you can be able to do this. We will work you to become a homeowner and create generational wealth. This is my information. Please, by all means, contact me. My website, BaileyInitiative.org. Email me, info@BaileyInitiative.org. That is my phone. It is currently live right now, so if you text me, I can see it later. But that's my phone number, 914-433-6267. And with that, I'll take any questions. Any questions you may have, by all means, you can call it out, blare it out, if any questions, but we have information. And again, we're giving away a book, so if you didn't sign up for the raffle, please, by all means, sign up for the raffle, and we're giving away one of the book courtesy of Osling. Well, 2 books. We're giving away 2 books. Look at that, 2 books. I may put my name down for that. But yes, we're giving away 2 books, so please put your email down so we can do the drawing. But if you have any questions, blurt it out, it's fine. If you don't have them now, you can always email me. And if you have questions for Sherry as well. Yes?
I have a question. So for an appraiser, either when you go to buy a house or after you have a house, when like the town appraises the taxes, are they looking at your neighborhood and the value of your home or just your property?
Okay,
Or
so
both?
I'm going to split it up in 2 ways. The question is, when an appraiser appraises your house, what are they looking for? But she said 2 different things in that. She said when an appraiser comes in before you buy the house and after you buy the house. So there's a couple of appraisers. There's an appraiser that comes from the bank to say that here is the value of your home. They based on the size, the rooms, the size of your home, let me repeat, the size of the livable space in your home. A basement is not a livable space. So although your basement may be the size of the house, it is not considered livable space. So your livable space of the home, the first floor, the layer, the bedrooms, bath, livable space. And then your yard. So that size comparables, comps, compared to others in the area of that same size and space. So they may not necessarily do so much with the upgrades, but that does help a little bit. Yes, because, perfect example to that question is that I will go for the worst house on the block. Because that worst house, once fixed up, the ARV, the appraised retail, I'm sorry, she just corrected me, this is Jackie, she always corrects me. The after repair value, the ARV, the after repair value will be comparable to the other sizes to the house. So that's the one. After you purchase the home now, you have your tax assessor that comes in and assesses based on what you've done, what the taxes to your home should be. Right? So let's say yes, you did rehab it, that taxes before is going to be different from the taxes after. So that's 2 weeks answer. All right? Any other questions? Again, I know it's a lot. By all means, contact me. Yes.
All right. Hey, great job. I recently purchased a home, and it is a very daunting, challenging experience. I would say stay in contact with Mr. Bailey because it's such very nuanced. So everything kind of changes just in small ways. So for example, one thing I noticed when I purchased my house is that, you see the house, oh, it's whatever, $1,000 and stuff like that. Sometimes part of that negotiation happens so far on the back end. So when I purchased my house, I got about maybe $30,000 taken off, but the price is still listed at what the original sale price was, but the sellers actually wrote me a check at the closing to make up that difference. Why? So that way when other people go to buy the homes, they're coming in the game paying that more inflated price. I never knew that, because I wasn't going to these type of sessions and things like that. I just found out because I just kept on the negotiation process. I'm like, nah. They're like, okay, well, we can do it like this. So that's what they said, a lot of times you'll see that sale price and you'll see the comps because they're going off of what it was sold for. So let's say it sells like $100,000, but they ended up really getting $100,000, but they ended up giving you back like $30,000, but it's still listed on paper as $100,000. So those of us not in the loop, we're seeing $100,000 getting ready to pay that. Does that make sense?
Seller's concession.
Seller's concession?
That's pretty much what you got. So you give me more detail of what you just explained. I'm gonna give a sample. Let's go back to Lisa. Lisa, who was she got $1,000, but she used $625 initially. Eventually, over time, because she came through the Bailey Initiative, she built her credit, and she got down payment assistance. Now, we're at the negotiation table, and something's up with the house, whatever it is. So instead of that $100,000 home dropping $70,000 to $70,000, to keep the value of that home, it stayed at $100,000. But you needed to do something with the roof, you needed to do something with the plumbing. They gave you the credit for that. So they're actually gonna cut you a check at the closing table for that value. So so what happens is still keeping the market value at the same, but you've actually received $30,000 to do the repair. Now if you do the repair, that's up to you, but if you keep it $30,000, that's $30,000 that came back. So you'll actually get a check at that closing table once you're done. So Jack.
I have a question.
Yes.
Ms. Francis.
Yes.
Medical bills. In regards to your credit.
Yeah, so actually it's somewhat illegal for medical bills to be listed on your credit. We know they are, but it's a HIPAA violation, right? Because a lot of them come with the codes that the doctor put in,
And that's essentially telling why the medical bill is there, right? There's a law that's being passed in July 1 that any medical bills that are unpaid, that are on your credit report, that they're actually gonna try to take those off. But you know, a lot of things they say they're gonna take off, right? I'm waiting for Biden to take my student loans away and it's still not gone. So you as a consumer has to stay on top of the trends and like coming to seminars like this and speaking to people like myself so you can follow through with that process if you do have medical bills. But yes, that's one of the easiest things to get disputed and removed from your credit report because it doesn't belong there. Yeah, it's a violation. It's a HIPAA violation.
So let me, because I'm recording and we will make this recording available to the library. So that was actually a good piece of information. And again, thank you, Sherry Ann, for being here. The question was asked, medical bills, if they're on your credit, and it's a violation based on HIPAA law because they may have a code to why that was placed on your credit, which is HIPAA law. Not, that's just, no, that's wrong. Nobody's supposed to know your medical history. But that's an easy, if I'm correct in saying it, Sherry Ann, it's easy to get taken off of your credit because it's based on the laws that are being passed now that long story short, shouldn't be on your credit. And you as a consumer can dispute that. So I have my assistant here, my partner in crime, Jackie. Jackie, can I tell the business, Jackie? I'm sorry. All right, so Jackie just turned 21 and has been working with me in this and is currently working towards her first home as an investment. And so she soaks up all of this information and is actively working on obtaining her own home. And so she literally bothers me all the time in all this information and utilizes it, and which she's currently in a couple of deals right now, looking forward to close. So, Jackie.
Okay, so I want to say a few things about equity because it's very important. So equity is very important. So let's say I bought a house for $100,000 and then it got appraised for $200,000. I could go pull out the extra $100,000 to then go start a business, maybe buy another property. You can tap into that for your dreams and other things. So I think being a homeowner is like literally the best thing that you can do.
Right. So going off of that example again. So let's talk hard numbers. So you have an understanding. $100,000, right? Again, a co-op may be $100,000. You're gonna pay the principal interest, usually the HOA fees, the housing association fees. It covers the taxes in that. So in that $100,000, let me use Jackie. Jackie is 21. She gets into that home, $100,000, and 5 years before you can rent it. So $100,000, she's paying it over the 5 years. She may have paid 10% down or whatever, 5% down, but it appreciated. It appreciated for, like at the beginning I told you, in a year, all prices appreciated 20%. It kind of leveled off now, so it looks like it's about to be a buyer's market. It was a crazy seller's market, meaning the sellers were in control. They could make any prices. There were bidding wars going crazy. That has leveled off, to be honest. And next year it looks like it's going to soften to where you as a buyer now have more say. So in that $100,000, they may have appraised for, she come back next year, or rather in those 5 years, at $150,000. $150,000. She's already paid 10%, $10,000. So now there's $60,000 in equity in that, right? 50 in their appreciation, and the 10,000 or however much she has paid over that 5 years. So that 50 plus the 10, 60,000. Yes, ma'am. And then so now it's 160,000. So she wants to take out 30, 40,000 out of the home. You don't want to take out all the 60, you still want to leave value in the home. So you take out the 40,000. That 40,000 can act as a down payment for another house. So now you get a two-family home with that 40,000, right? Because technically your 40,000 could probably get you like a $300,000 home or something like that. 40,000, 300. Now let's say you take that cash value of 40,000 and you get down payment assistance programs. So the down payment assistance programs give you another $20,000. That's $50,000. So now that before that 40 could have afforded you a $300,000, that 50 could afford you a $350,000 home, right? So now that $350,000, let's say it's a multifamily. So now it's a multifamily, and it's going to potentially bring you in another $20,000 over the month, over the year. Now that's a $400,000 home you could. See what I'm saying when we talk about equity? So utilizing equity to be able to create generational wealth. That's the point. Yes.
Okay, one last thing. So if you guys were going to get houses, I would say try to go for multifamily because you can get in with a personal loan. You can go as low as 3.5 with the FHA, and that will qualify you. So also what he was saying was when you have income, if you get into a multifamily home, you live in one unit and you rent the rest of them out. That acts as income. So let's say you make $40,000 a year. That $40,000 plus the extra income from your houses. The other two, let's say you have 2 floors. The other 2 that acts as income that qualifies you for more of a house. So you could say if you went for a single family house for $300,000, maybe if you went for a multifamily, it would qualify you for more.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Now you're just being show. But you get the point, is what I'm saying. So a lot of this is just not knowing and understanding. So the first thing is being able to understand why you're doing this. Why are you going to, again, we know that, owning a home is the American dream, but how do you use that home to create generational wealth? And that's pretty much what Bailey Initiative does. So if there aren't any more questions, by all means, take my information down. You can email me, go on the website. I will be actually starting. Yes.
So with the pre-approval process, would you recommend to start the pre-approval process, even if you're so for me, I want to move out of state, but the lenders were telling me that, the underwriters won't close unless I show proof of income. So would you recommend to start the pre-approval process before before you have the proof of income in another state, or? Because one lender told me one thing and another lender told me something different.
Yeah, so that's kind of hard to answer, but I'm going to give you a general one. And that's really is going to go off of your taxes. And that's the thing, it depends on the lenders. So exactly, they're going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff because it's pertaining to how their lending practices are. But in general, they're going to want 2 years of taxes and to ensure that you at least have 3 months of payment. So how is your income coming in? Is it steady? And let's say you own your own business. So even with people that own their own business, that it's a little bit harder sometimes, but it's not impossible. It's just banks or lending institutions, at the end of the day, they want to know how they're going to get paid. So what information are you showing them in order for you to be a qualified home buyer? So they want to be confident that you're going to pay. How is that? Again, your taxes or savings and pretty much a good credit score. Once you have those 3 intact, you can go to anybody. And there are many lenders, depending on where you are, that either do it locally or nationally that can compete for your business. So I know it's kind of very generic, but it's particular. So to answer, do you do a pre-approval? I would honestly say just ensure that you're a qualified buyer with those 3 things before you go to pre-approval. Because again, pre-approval, they're gonna, like Sharon was saying, they're gonna pull your credit. You don't want to do that. You
And
just
it
wanna,
expires. It expires in 6 months, so it's really not. For me, I waited 2 years. I took my
Right.
time, so you can get a pre-approval. It's not a hard process. They make it seem like it is, but it expires, so you want to be very strategic with your time.
right. Because let's say it'll create, it creates a hard injury, right?
It does, depending
Yeah.
on who pulls it.
Who
Yeah, it
pulls
does.
it, right? So if you are doing that and you want to hard versus soft, hard leaves a credit a remark on your credit score, soft doesn't. So if they're saying they're going to do a soft pull, okay.
Okay, so
But-
can we request a soft pull?
It depends on the realtor you're working with. It depends on the
Yeah,
market.
that's-
It really
again-
depends. Like you said, it's their best interest. They don't really
Okay.
have your best interest.
Yeah,
in
they
mind all the
don't.
time.
Banks don't have your investment. Not gonna lie.
So I was watching a guru, a real estate investing guru, and he was like, go pull
So softball. Go ahead.
Go ahead, and I'll
Yes.
ask.
So what's the best way to find a lending institution? Like, are you just calling around to a bunch of different places, lenders to, I mean, how do you find one?
Research. Yes. Yes. I'm
And
sure.
what am I looking for?
Yeah, so then I'll ask you, it depends on where you are in the process. So perfect example, like right now, because interest rates have gone up, now banks are gonna be fighting for your business. It's actually a good time, although the rate's a little bit high. But I mean, back in the 80s, rates were like 10%, so it being like 5% now is actually not too bad. If you were in the game before at 2-3%, great. But it's usually around this anyway. So what happened is because people are kind of wary of that, they're not going to want to be buying anything, right? Making any big purchases. So banks are actually competing for business now. So that's why I said it's going to be a buyer's market where you can go. You have the leverage now to compete for your business. Because you can call up a big bank and say, oh, you're doing 5.6? Oh, I'm going to go over here because they gave me 5.2. You're like, wait, we have this and that. So you can do that, right? So it's just really finding what best interest rates work for you. But you're a better candidate because now you have a better credit score, because now you have the savings, because now you have everything to present them before they try to get you. Follow?
Is it best to have your taxes included in your mortgage payment?
Yeah. The question is, have your taxes included in your mortgage? So, yeah, so that PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, is best to just have your mortgage servicer, who's going to be servicing your loan, just have everything in there. So you're just paying everything one time.
Then sometimes your taxes go up, so then your mortgage payment will go up as well.
Yeah. But the taxes will go up if you're assessed. So back to the whole thing of if you did something, I shouldn't be saying this, but why wouldn't you have your taxes assessed? For what? You're going to call this thing and say, come check my land to give me more taxes? Why would you do that? If you want to, by all means, go ahead.
But do the municipalities go out and do their own assessments?
Yeah, at times, but they're just assessing it kind of based on everything. But if you did like upgrades for the most part, then it usually would go up. But just taxes just kind of go up based on whatever, regardless. But I would suggest anybody call the city to say, come check my taxes. Yes.
When you're buying like a co-op and condo, that 5-year period before you can rent, that's like a co-op rule, or that's like a mortgage?
That's each independent co-op. So every co-op will have to maybe 3 years, or maybe 2 years. So that's why I said, think about how you want to get in. Is it entry point? What is your entry point in owning a home? So it could be a co-op, it could be a condo, but if you're going to say that you want to eventually rent it after a while, how long will they allow you before you do that? Any other questions? So I'll end with that. Again, I want to thank Ossining Public Library. And again, please, we're going to do a raffle. Sign up. And if you haven't already, I want to actually go around and see if I can get anybody's email, and I'll reach out to you. But if anything, again, my number is 914-433-6267. And I want to thank Ossining Public Library and Hudson Valley Bookstore. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I am sure I'll be back. Thank you very much.
Everybody want to make sure they sign up for the books?
Yeah, we said what we're supposed to put in there.
Anybody else want to be in the jar for a book?
If you want to put your email up.
This is for the raffle?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I don't know if you want to do the raffle. You want me to bring you the paper for the books? Yeah. Oh.
Did they want to?
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody else?